Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Tuesday and it's October the 17th, 2023. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I'd like to extend to you a warm welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets. So you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. Well, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and for the entire month, my objective is to promote awareness by discussing some of the cases I have followed in my area this year. Many of them I did not address in videos because there's so many cases and they create so much anxiety for me that there are times when I just have to walk away and focus in other areas. But as I already mentioned, this is the month of awareness, and the theme this year is Everyone Knows Someone, which is so very true. Victims are often so very close to us, and many times we simply miss the signals. And keep in mind, it's not just behaviors that occur between spouses, it's whatever happens in that particular home. So in this video, I want to highlight a few of the cases I've followed throughout the year, and I've called them, it's just a snapshot. They are not presented in any particular order, and it does not mean that any one of them hold more significance than the other. And it doesn't mean that the ones I don't speak about, that they're not important. They are all important. These are simply some of those that I have collected, and for one reason or another, I just could not bring myself to finishing the video. So let's take a look and see what I've gathered. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. So for the first case, we'll travel to Charlotte, North Carolina, and the date of this incident was July the 18th, 2023. Police say around 5:30 a.m. On July the 18th, this woman pictured here, 51-year-old Stephanie Alexander, she contacted the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and informed the dispatcher that she had just arrived home and she had shot a woman in her home. The dispatcher did ask if she needed an ambulance, and Miss Alexander specifically stated no, not an ambulance, but she needed the police. When police arrived at the residence, they found this woman pictured here, 25-year-old Tyra Crosby, deceased in the hallway inside the home. Stephanie Alexander was still on the scene, and it was confirmed that both women did not know each other. She was subsequently, I'm talking about Alexander, she was subsequently taken to the Charlotte Police Department for an interview, and later she was arrested. Police confirmed that the death of Tyra Crosby was the result of a domestic incident, and it was confirmed by the deceased woman's mother that Tyra Crosby had met Mr. Alexander at a club and he had invited her to his home. Now, I'm not here to comment on what may have happened during the night, but it was early morning when Mrs. Alexander arrived home. She said she came home early and found Crosby and she killed her. She shot and she killed her. And it was reported that Mr. Alexander was an eyewitness to the shooting. Now, the deceased woman's mother also told the media that at some point during the night, her daughter had called or attempted to call her, reach her, and she had left a voicemail message, and that it was approximately an 8-minute recording where she could hear her daughter screaming and she could hear the resident of the home stating that she was going to kill her. And that's exactly what was done. The mother claims her daughter would not have gone to the home had she known Mr. Alexander was married. She also stated her daughter was brutally beaten up before she was murdered. Police initially charged Stephanie Alexander with manslaughter. She was given a $250,000 bond and she was able to make bond. But after that 8-minute recording that was left by the deceased, after that voicemail message became public and it was handed over to police, the charges against Stephanie Alexander was upgraded to second-degree murder. But that's not the end of it because 10 days later, police returned to that same resident on Porter Street, and this time again it was for shots fired. It was not for Mr. Alexander this time. What happened during the night, unknown subject or subjects fired several shots into the home. No one was injured, but a subject was never apprehended. And the next case comes from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and the date of this incident was around the end of April 2023. And that's when a Fayetteville police officer and his wife were found dead inside their home. Now, shortly after the bodies were discovered, police revealed that the deaths were the result of a murder-suicide. Investigators stated that the police officer, Domingo Tavares Rodriguez, had shot and killed his wife, and later he turned the gun on himself. Now, I did a video on this case because the police officer was an Army veteran, and I would drop everything to cover veteran story, regardless of how uncomfortable it might be. So I felt I had to speak on this because he, like myself, he's a veteran. But I also want to highlight a few signs that were reported on both sides. Now, her family stated they saw things that concerned them, and when they addressed the wife, she stated she did not feel he would harm her. But on the other side, 2 days before the bodies were discovered, this police officer made a distress call. He made a 911 call to the police department, and in that call, he did not address many of the issues, but stated he felt he needed to cover himself. Whatever was going on in the home, he felt he needed to cover himself. So, in retrospect, it appears that there were clues on both sides, and that both sides may have had concerns. And the next case is out of Raleigh, North Carolina. The date was August the 6th, 2023. Police say this man, 29-year-old Christopher McCullough, savagely beat his parents and left them unconscious before stealing a car and kidnapping a child. Now, he beat his parents so badly, and it was all done in the presence of a young child. And as a result of this assault, his mother, 79-year-old Mary McCullough, died from her injuries, and his father was left in critical condition. Investigators say McCullough has a lengthy criminal history. They say he had 17 prior arrests. 17! This past June, he faced a charge of assault on a female, and in March, he was charged with violating domestic protective orders. Now he's charged with killing his mother and critically wounding his father. Makes you wonder whether this all could have been avoided. But that's another issue for another day. I need to stay focused. Investigators say he had beaten his parents before, and they had taken out a protective order against him after he had threatened to kill them. And looks like he meant what he said. But this time McCullough is being charged with murder, and he's being held without bond, and the DA has not yet decided whether he would seek the death penalty. There are two more cases I want to address. So the first is from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and the date of this event was April of 2023. And I want to focus on this woman, 40-year-old Estelle Steele, a traveling nurse and a single mother of 3 beautiful children living in Winston-Salem. On this particular morning in April, police say they reported to the home in Winston-Salem after receiving notification of shots fired. Now, this incident took place in the middle of the day, and when police arrived, they found the home locked. And upon gaining entry, they found the mother, Estelle Steele, deceased, along with her 3 children, ages 9, 12, and 14. All of them had been shot. I've decided not to show pictures of the children. It's just too much for me. Police are saying that Ethel Steele shot and killed her children while she was allegedly live streaming on FaceTime. So, allegedly, there was another party who had to witness this horrible event. They said she had just returned home from a vacation in Florida and was making plans for another. And the lingering question is whether family members and friends simply missed the warning sign. They are saying they never saw it coming. They say there were no warning signs. I wonder whether that is actually true. But that morning, a few days after returning from her vacation with her family, for reasons that are unclear, Ethel Steele killed her 3 children, and then she turned the gun on herself. And finally, the last case I want to cover is probably one that has affected me the most for a number of reasons. And this case is coming out of High Point, North Carolina, and it's the first case I actually saw in January of 2023. The news headline read, North Carolina man kills his wife, three children, and then turns the gun on himself. Police in High Point described this as one of the most gruesome cases they had ever encountered. Investigators say 45-year-old Robert Creighton Jr., an Army veteran, killed his 46-year-old wife and three children ages 18, 16, and 10 years old, and then he turned the gun on himself. There were there, there were two adults, additional adults, and they were found running through the neighborhood screaming for help. It was reported that Robert Creighton Jr. had a known history of mental illness with prior involuntary commitment orders, and police had been at that home several times in the past. But this was the case that made me decide that, as important as this topic was, talking about domestic violence cases would be something I would not be able to easily cover in 2023. So there you have it, the 5 cases I elected to discuss this week. And keep in mind, this is just a minute number of the DV cases in my area, but I can't cover them all. I wanted to show they cover all spectrum, all ages, all socioeconomic groups. But these are a few that I had collected during the year, but I could not bring myself to complete and post the videos. I just couldn't do it. Because you see, I have to tell you, just discussing them have left me feeling drained. So I'll stop here for now and I'll pick up next week in my final video of the month. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like that one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.